Hello and welcome to another Rove podcast in celebration of 50 years of the UAE. And we're celebrating the young Emiratis that have made a difference and continue to drive the country forward. I'm Paris Norris, the guy in Dubai, and during this series we'll be chatting with some really interesting people, from captains of industry to captains of aircrafts. And today we have the UAE's youngest Emirati woman pilot, Noof Omar. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. And you've just flown in to be here.
Yes, I did.
Where did you come from?
I came from Stockholm. I arrived yesterday evening.
Fantastic. Now, just for those people who don't know what it is you do, just give a little bit of a brief.
Sure. Noof Omar, as you said, I'm 24 years old from Dubai. I'm a pilot in Emirates Airlines. I fly the Boeing 777 airplane. I've been flying for almost 4 years. I've been to over 70 destinations all around the 6 continents that we fly to.
Wow. Now, 2 bits of information I pulled out there. You've been doing it for 4 years and you're only 24.
Yes.
So you started very young. So when did you first start training as a pilot?
I graduated from high school. I was 17 and a half, and I joined the National Cadet Pilot Program at Emirates Airlines for Emiratis. And I did some training in Dubai, then went to Spain to do my initial flight training. Then I was back to Dubai to do the type rating on the 777, and I started flying then.
That's incredible. So, I mean, for somebody who's figured out at such a young age what they want to do, I mean, I've got friends my age at 36 who still haven't figured it out what they want to do. So you must have had some very strong early inspirations. So my question is, did you have members of family who were also in the same industry? And how did Dubai or the UAE at large inspire you? Because it has a very interesting story about aviation itself.
Absolutely. I was 16 when I first met a real pilot, I would say, and it was my cousin, or my dad's cousin, Captain Samir. And during our conversations about airplanes and flying, and when I kind of saw his lifestyle, I was like, this is what I really want to do. Thinking about my personality and what I really wanted to have as a career in life, that's when it hit me that this is the perfect job for me. I'm a very active person. I'm not used to routine, and this was like the perfect opportunity, I would say. When it comes to Dubai, obviously, this is the city of opportunities. And to be an Emirati, we have a lot of opportunities to kind of achieve anything that we wish to achieve when it comes to goals or anything we want to really, or where we see ourselves in the future. Is Dubai gives us the place. I mean, it's the place to achieve anything that you really want to achieve. As I said, I remember going to air shows when I was in high school, and I was very excited when I was able to relate my future career, which I wasn't still a pilot then, and to see the actual airplanes in front of me. It was like it was right there when I knew this is what I really want to do as well. Just reassured that this was I would say perfect career for me. Let's put it that way. And yeah, as I said, the opportunities are always there.
I think, I can take a bit of reflection in what you just said, because, I'm not from here, but I came from the UK to here because I think the UAE, you really can choose what you want to be. From the UK, I know that you couldn't be anything unless you have done the ranks and been in it long enough. And people put a lid on your enthusiasm because it was very competitive. People don't like to see that you're out there trying harder than they are or being more ambitious, because everyone likes to think they're ambitious, but quite often they don't actually want to do the work. So I found in the UAE, certainly coming from abroad, you could start afresh. What do you want to be? And people support that. They hear your story, and it's like, okay,
we'll help you get there.
We'll help you get there. I'll support you. And it's not competitive. It's not like I just feel everyone's here trying hard to achieve something, and there's a positive vibe to allowing people to just believe that they can be what they want to be, I think.
Talking about that, To be honest, what really helped me is, as you said, the environment in Dubai. I got a lot of support from my family, from the school that I graduated from. Everyone was excited to see me become a pilot. Everyone was, cheering me up for actually choosing such a career, and not only that, but actually achieving that and starting the flying career. I'd say, starting from my studying and until I graduated, and everyone was just so supportive. And as you said, there is no competition. Everyone wants you to be there. Everyone wants to support you. Everyone wants you to become number one. And everyone is so proud of me that it's very touching, but it also keeps me going, keeps me doing what I am doing. And I think that really helped, I would say, with being in a field where women are not, the majority, I would say, is more males. So to choose a career like this, that's a bit, I wouldn't say, it's not weird, but it's very rare. Let's put it that way. It's very rare to see women in the flight deck. And to choose a career like that, I got more positive comments than very little negative comments of people who, I would say, just close-minded people who have not been maybe educated about it yet. But I think I was lucky, and I'm very blessed to be from Dubai because of that, the open-mindedness.
Yeah, no, well, that's great to hear, because that was going to be my next question in terms of, was there more support or more conflict by you doing something a little bit different to what may be out there? But
support all the way.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So I have a question for you, and I don't know if you know this, but you might know this, but okay, the listeners might not know this. Do you know who the first person to fly an aircraft was?
Emily something. I think her name is Emily. The female, you mean, or
no? First person.
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm going to date back maybe 1,100 years.
Okay.
So back in the golden age of the sort of Arab Enlightenment period in 850 AD, a man by the name of Abbas ibn Fanas, he was an Arab inventor. Now that's a name you might know.
Yeah.
And it was around the same era as Ibn Battuta and all these scholars that went to Spain and Europe to develop their knowledge, and they worked out algebra and mathematics and astronomy and all these things. So when I was learning to fly, and I'm definitely not as accomplished as you are, I came across that story and realized that actually the sort of early birth of aviation, although back then it was more like a glider, but it really was maybe the first account that we have of someone actually flying with an aircraft was from the Arab region. So in some ways, it's in your bones.
Yes, it should be.
Yeah. So so it's funny because I think I've often heard that people say, it's amazing how Emirates has taken over and the skies here and made this such a strong hub. But actually, aviation is not something new here.
Absolutely.
So we were talking earlier about, your ambitions as a pilot and, how that works, because I was wondering whether it's about increasing your level is about increasing the aircraft or moving to different aircrafts. But explain to us how it works and what you aspire to be within the aviation industry.
Sure. When it comes to being a pilot, it's I would say it's just like a normal job. When it comes, experience is what's going to get you to your next position or next ranking, let's say. With the pilots, as you can see, or many of you, if you've traveled, you've seen the pilots have bars or like the golden straps on their shoulders, and that identifies basically the amount of hours they have, which is related to the experience or experience that pilot has. So in Emirates, we start with cadet pilot, one stripe, and then it goes to first officer, 2 stripes, and senior first officer, 3 stripes, and then trainee and captain, 4 stripes. And all the first 3 you're on the right seat, and once you become a captain, you turn to the left seat, and then you become the commander of the airplane. And that means you are the pilot in command when it comes to any decision making. You're the person that makes that decision mainly. So any student or any pilot who starts flying, the ambition is basically to turn from the right-hand seat to the left-hand seat. And that is because the whole mindset changes then. And you become, obviously, the experienced person, the most experienced on the airplane. And simply being the commander of the airplane is just the title that every pilot wishes to have at some point in their career.
And you've got 2 stripes now?
I have 2 stripes, yes.
So not far off 4 stripes. Have any Emirati women ever reached the 4-stripe level?
Not yet, but we have actually one of my colleagues, Hanan, she's almost there. And we're all very excited for her to be the first Emirati captain, I would say, with 4 stripes in the UAE.
That would be fantastic.
Yes.
And generally, how many years experience does it take to get there? And, how far are you off reaching that level?
To become a captain, you need about 6,000 hours, and you need to be minimum of 30 years old. So once you have both ticked off, then you can become a captain and obviously go through the training first. So I'm 24 now, and I have about 2,500 hours. So I need to wait about 6 years to become 30 first, and then obviously the hours will build as I get to that age. So to me, to be honest, I wouldn't say I'm in a rush, but I'm taking my time because it's all about the learning experience as well. In every flight, and that's what I love about aviation, every flight you learn something new. And sometimes I teach stuff, like it's a two-way thing. We both learn from each other, although he might be more experienced and I might be less experienced, but let's say I might know something he doesn't know, or I might have read something that he probably read, and it's just exchanging knowledge in the flight deck that is really amazing with this job, and it keeps you always updated and it keeps it exciting, I'd say.
Yeah, interesting. I was talking with one of the Red Arrows pilots, which is the display team, the fighter jet display team from Great Britain. A guy called Will Cambridge, they call him Red 2, so he's the second guy in the formation. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, about my journey going forward, learning to fly, because I was learning to fly light sports aircrafts. Mm-hmm. And he said, the moment you stop enjoying it is the moment you should stop being a pilot, because when you're enjoying it, you're learning, and you've got to constantly be learning, because it's a never-ending process. And
I have to agree with that, to be honest. It's everyone who asks me, everyone I fly with, especially captains, they start the question by, are you enjoying it? And of course I am. Otherwise I wouldn't, to be honest. And that is absolutely true. I say to myself that I love my job and I would keep flying as long as I can. But once I reach that, if it ever comes, God forbid, the day that I stop enjoying my job and kind of change that mentality towards my work, because they say when you do what you love, you give it your everything, and it's real, because every time I go to every flight, I go excited. I leave my the bad energy at home. I go to work ready, rested, and looking forward to a new flight, even if it's a destination I flew to 3 times or 4 times. But that new flying with new people, the whole experience, the journey, it's what gets me excited about the job. And I said, if that excitement ever goes away, I honestly don't want to fly, because that's not the place to fly, or that's not the place to work if you don't love the job, I would say.
Well, I guess you have a huge responsibility in what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I fly small planes for adventure purposes, and I love the adventure. But with you, it's very structured, huge responsibility, but a lot more to know. It's really a huge amount to be aware of. So what is it that sort of keeps you entwined mostly? I mean, like in terms of motivated, what?
I think it's because, as I said, I might have flown to the destination before, but it could be a different set of crew. It could be different captains, different cabin crew. So just that meeting new people and the circumstances that we go through to do that flight could be different than the time I did it before. And there's always something new. Like anything could happen, different scenarios, different situations could happen on every flight that makes the job exciting, I would say. And the responsibility, I actually like the responsibility. It doesn't stress me at all. It just motivates me to do a better job because I want to be the best at what I do. And the whole flying journey. Now I don't want to get too detailed with the technicalities of flying, but when we fly, we do the takeoff and the landing manually, and then at some point we engage the autopilot. So en route, usually it's the autopilot, but the takeoff and landing, we do it manually, and that's what excites me. I can fly the plane, like I fly the 777 without any autopilot's help. So that excites me, and I try to do it as long as I can. So we have a limit of 20,000 feet. That's when we have to engage the autopilot. But so I usually try to maximize the time I hand fly the airplane because it gives me skills, hand flying skills, and because we don't do it so much because it's only takeoff and landing. So every time I am on a flight, and if it's my sector, like I'm flying, I actually enjoy hand flying the airplane myself. And that's what keeps me excited, I guess.
So we're just it seems like we're coming out of the pandemic now, but that was a particularly turbulent time for the travel industry. Very difficult time for airlines. Talk me through sort of what your experience was and how you got through it and where you see us now. Are we back to 2019 levels, or is it still recovering?
When COVID hit, as you said, the airline industry was really hit badly as well, affected in a very bad way. But I would say we continued flying. Actually, flying became, we had more flights. I remember having more flights than I did before in a month. And mainly the reason was probably cargo requirements around the world. We were transferring cargo from all around the world when it comes to medicine, masks, pharmaceuticals. The cargo demand increased rapidly, I would say, over the last year that we've had COVID, since COVID started. So I've been doing a lot of mixed operation, cargo, passenger, repatriation flights, getting people home from wherever they are or taking them home. So we really played a big part in that when it comes to the airline industry. Talking about now, yeah, things are going back to normal. I would say 85% of our operation is back again, flying. All our airplanes are already busy, no airplanes standing when it comes to the 777. Maybe a couple of 380s are still remaining, but the demand is picking up. More countries have opened, the restrictions are less now, and people want to travel, obviously. So, and of course, what's better than Dubai, the hub and the middle of the world, to fly people from east to west and south and north. So it's picking up. I wouldn't say maybe it's 100% like it was before, but it's getting there. It's in a short period of time, things will be back to normal, inshallah.
Inshallah. So when 9/11 happened, that had a permanent effect on the aviation industry. Some procedures that have continued to stay. Do you think the pandemic has also added some procedures and a way of flying that's going to stay forever?
Talking about the 9/11 procedures that have been added since the incident, we had to always have someone in the flight deck, not only 9/11, in general. One of the rules that many airlines still had was to have someone in the flight deck when one of the pilots stepped out of the flight deck. So there's always got to be 2 people in the flight deck. But after COVID, this restriction was removed. So now the pilots can remain alone in the flight deck, at least for our airline. So this was a positive change, I would say, comparing to before. It doesn't make a big difference whether a pilot can stay alone or has to have someone with him or with her. But it was a good change to see because it's been there for a very long time. When it comes to COVID, the restrictions or the procedures, I would say there's not many, to be honest, because COVID, when we're talking about what it is, it's just the disease itself, right? It's the virus itself. So flying, how does it affect us? It doesn't affect us so much. It's just that people have to keep wearing their masks. Obviously, the air conditioning, they've increased or doubled or tripled the ventilation system to kind of clear the air every 2 minutes. So it kind of became safer or much better than it was before, more protected. When it comes to food and beverages, maybe they're served in a more cleaner way, I would say. And not that they weren't before, but now everything is just more hygiene, I would say. And people are realizing you need to keep, your hands clean and all that stuff. So I would say it's a positive change, but not to the airline industry. But when you talk about the operation of flying itself, every flight, the services, the how things happen in the flight, I think they're the same or even better.
I suppose sometimes these things have to happen for people to become aware, and then
Absolutely.
these policies get put in place, which maybe should have been before, but
Yes.
it's just something needs to.
This is the airline industry. Something has to happen for us to learn
Yeah.
and set something new, a new rule or a new procedure.
I think that's human nature.
Yes, absolutely.
So you've done incredibly well for yourself at a young age, and I think you were fortunate to know at a young age what you wanted to do. What would you say to someone starting out, a younger you or somebody trying to follow your footsteps into the aviation industry? What would be your sort of big advice?
If we talk about the aviation industry alone, I would say it's such an exciting industry. It's very active. You have a lot of opportunities when it comes to job opportunities. There are so many, so it's a big umbrella, and under it falls a lot of other majors or departments, or it's just an exciting industry to be working for or at. When it comes to goals and what you want to do, I honestly say that age is just a number. As you said, I was fortunate to kind of find my career, I would say, or the chosen path for myself at a very young age. But even for those who are like 36, like your friend, for example, it's never too late. And if you don't find it at 20, you can find it at 30, if not 30, 40, 50. And until you find it, you will find it someday. Maybe just work on yourself a little bit more, kind of self-discover. Can I ask you, have you ever sat with yourself for 5 minutes just to think about, let's say, your future or your goals? Or we don't do that a lot, unless you're aware that you need to give yourself, let's say, 5 or 10 minutes daily to just think about what you really want to do. Like so many, I would say, are you really happy with the job that you're doing? If not, why are you still doing that job? It's never too late to change. It's never too late to find a new passion. For those who want to start in the aviation industry, I'd say it's a very beautiful industry. I really love aviation, and I inspire anyone who's looking for that. How do you say, the energy? We're always running around. Airports are always busy. It has a lot of movement. It's an industry that has a lot of movement, and for people who enjoy movement, this is the perfect field, I would say.
Fantastic. I think that's really good advice, and I think we do all get so busy and in the hustle of life that we never stop to think, where's this going and what's the future about. So
when you sit and do that, you realize that you should have done that probably a long time ago, because what's next? Yeah, the question is, what's next? Okay, for me, for example, okay, I've achieved being a pilot, but what's next? What can I do with this career that I could actually maybe help other people? And that's when I started actually taking public speaking lessons. And the aim or my next goal is, okay, I became a pilot, I was able to achieve that. Now, how can I help other people achieve that? And not necessarily to become pilots, but to actually go and do what you really love, whether it's being an artist, whether it's being an engineer, whether it's being, a barista, whatever you love, you have to kind of acknowledge that first, that this is really what I want to do. And then the next step is working on yourself to actually achieve that goal. And no one's gonna, like for me, for being a pilot, no one studied for me to be a pilot. I had to do the work. So the hard work has to come from yourself, from you first. Then maybe your surrounding will help you, will support you, but you really need to start from inside. And that's how you kind of reach where you want to reach. Because if you don't set your life path, no one will. And if they do, they will kind of ruin it for you. So that's what I would say.
And I think, we live in a place that is a manifestation of vision.
Absolutely.
You look around and, you're Sure, you're looking at money invested, time spent, hard work, but you're looking at a vision that started with an idea, you know, and seeing the future. And it certainly inspires me to start doing that. I honestly, I don't do enough of that. But when I do it, it sets my next 5 years. So I'll sit there for maybe half an hour just thinking. Usually it has to be prompted by some sort of slightly depressive mode of not being happy about something. You know, maybe it's like, why am I at where I'm at? Yeah. But then when I reflect and then think, no, this is what I want for my future, and start putting a vision for it, it starts happening. Yeah. And it you know, things that I have seen so clearly, literally I find myself there at some point.
It all has to start with the vision, and then the rest continues. And I always like to say that Dubai is the place where visions become reality. And as you said, you see yourself in that vision. 50 years ago, this was a desert, and today look at us. We're in one of the buildings, you know, that are shining in the UAE, and there are many more. So they had a vision to make the city one of the best, and it is almost there, you know, if not already one of the best cities in the world. So if leaders of a small country like this were able to set visions and kind of move forward and become one of the fastest growing countries, why can't we as individuals do that to our own lives? You know, it's possible. You just have to put the effort and the energy to actually get there.
Absolutely. Noof Omar, that's a really inspirational talk. I want to thank you massively for coming and joining us on the Rove podcast. It's been really a pleasure to speak with you, and we will be following your success in the future, and I'm sure it's bright.
Thank you, Paris. It was really great to be here, and thank you for Rove Hotels.
Thank you very much. That's the end of this podcast, and follow us at social media at Rove Hotels, and tune in to our next podcast.